Hello everybody, I'm going to do a rundown of what I think the best tool in the game is. We're going to start from the bottom, number 10, and we're going to work our way all the way up to the number 1 most indispensable tool in the game. So the way that I kind of judge this, it is actually really difficult because you need pretty much all of them in certain situations at least. The top 5 was really difficult. I've judged it based on how indispensable they were given at different periods in the game, different times, and generally how much I've used them as well as how much I've enjoyed using them. So we're going to start at number 10 with what is arguably the most useless tool in the game. And we're going to start with the pipe bomb. Now, I do kind of get the reason for the pipe bomb. But the reason it comes in at number 10 is because it's just not that useful. There is a couple points at the start, maybe only one point at the start of the game when you unlock the pipe bomb where you find its uses. But it's scattery, it flies about all over the place, it sets fires. And that could be a little bit biased because at the start of the game, like lead chemicals and so on have a little bit more wood in it than the other ones maybe do proportionately. But they have a tendency to fling themselves around everywhere, and of course that continuous desire to set a fire and the limited destruction means that as soon as there was a replacement for the pipe bombs, they pretty much went straight out of my repertoire or using them at all. The only thing I did find a use for them really was to help me to clear grass on some sections, but there is a better tool for doing that in general. Okay, at number 9 we have the gun. Now the gun isn't totally without its uses. I understand that it does have its purposes. It's pretty much just a precision voxel deleter. So wherever you hit, it'll remove it. However, this weapon comes so late in the game, I think if it had come a bit earlier, we might have found a little bit more use for it. Its area of damage is really small, and it's essentially like a more focused shotgun. It doesn't come with very much ammunition. It isn't that satisfying to use. There are a few places that it becomes more useful a little bit later on, especially when you're playing in sandbox, triggering things from a distance, and obviously it's got a little bit more range, but in general the gun is not that useful. I definitely could have completed the game without it, and the things that it shows up with, the amount of ammunition, the damage and the range, it really isn't that great, and it does require money to invest into it. Okay, at number 8 I'm going with the spray, which I know might be quite controversial because I know a lot of people like to use it. Again, I'm trying to think from the perspective of playing the game, playing the campaign. It certainly has a lot of uses and fun, but in terms of the usefulness as a tool, can you complete the game without it? Yeah, 100% easily complete the game without the spray. It's just nice to be able to put some roots on the floor, and to write obscenities all over the place and draw male genitalia on walls. So really graffiti, but it can also be used. One of the best uses for it is, I thought, when we realise that you can on some walls get it to, definitely not that wall, you can on some walls get it to show through on the other side, and that you can use that to help you to line up. You can use that to help you to line up explosives, and it was really, really useful on the insurance fraud mission. I think fine arts as well for getting things done a little bit more accurately. But as I say, you can complete the game without the spray can, and for that reason it sits at number 8. At number 7, controversially, I'm going to go with the rocket. Now the rocket is so much fun. It is the most fun. Again, it comes very late in the game. It does require a reasonable amount of financial investment to make it as good as let's say a ranged bomb. The majority of things that you can do with the rocket, and I'm having so much fun here just blowing stuff up. This is why it's kind of painful to put these in an order. But ultimately you can probably do, and there's ideas for challenges here. You can almost definitely complete the game without the rocket. The rocket in some of my runs I used, like on this one, on the flooded version, it was invaluable really to help me get a quicker start. I bet you could do it without it, but wow, it's so much fun to use. It kind of pains me to put this far down the list, but the reason for that is this weapon is essentially replaceable and you can complete the game without having it, as far as I think. I will of course test this for science. Once we've blown up the edge of this building, we'll move on. Okay, look at that, how neat that was, dropped in perfectly. Okay, so the rocket sits kind of shockingly low down the list, but we'll see why hopefully when we continue with the remainder. Now it gets really, really tricky. At number 6, I've got the Blowtorch. The Blowtorch is an amazing tool. I don't need death threats about this, please. I get enough of those already. The Blowtorch is an amazingly useful tool. In the starter of the game, it's essential for getting, it's kind of your first introduction to how to get through metal doors, gates, grates, and for destroying objects that previously you really couldn't. And it kind of opens Teardown up massively. You realise what level of destruction you've got. However, it is very quickly replaced by other tools, and for that reason it doesn't sit quite as high up as I probably initially expected before I started putting my list together. But it's just... What? Excuse me, what? What? Okay, that's weird. Yeah, it gets replaced quite early on, but being able to do things like cutting your way into canisters, chopping out sections of the walls, it's certainly a massive eye-opener, and it saves so much ammunition for some of the other tools in the game. It never is without its use, but for a number of reasons it sits at number 6. At number 5 we have the fire extinguisher, which initially I probably didn't even really use, probably quite similar to you guys when you're playing it. It's only once you start, I think there's a mission where the marine is on fire that you think, right, okay, I get it now. And once you start picking up the explosives, it does become indispensable. And I really don't think, obviously there is a mission that involves having to use the fire extinguisher. I don't think you can complete the game without using the fire extinguisher. It's also so much fun to see however they've done this, to see all the candy floss foam just pouring and piling on. It's actually really fun to use. I hate putting fires out, but as soon as you get the fire extinguisher out, you think, maybe it's not so bad. Not much else to say for the fire extinguisher, other than it sits so high up the list based purely on the fact that I don't think you could complete the game without it, and it's so much fun, especially when the particles are all lit up. Now it's super tough. We are going to move to number 4 on the list, and it is the bomb. The bomb is another one where I think you would really struggle to complete Teardown without the bomb. Maybe there's a challenge in that, but I really don't think you can complete the game without the bomb. The level of destruction is absolutely awesome, and it really opens up the physics engine. You can plant a ton of them at the same time. Whoa! You can literally stress the game engine to the point where it pretty much freezes, and we can set a hell of a lot of fires. I will say though, it does seem to set a lot less fires than the pipe bomb, and of course it actually blows things up as opposed to the pipe bomb, which kind of just gives things a tiny little scratch. So for that reason, the bomb sits so highly up the list. If I could count how many bombs I used in the game, it would be an enormous number. I could watch the bomb blow things up for hours. I'm sure you could. We certainly couldn't have blown up the whole Gordon Villa without the bombs. For that reason, it sits so highly up the list. But as we'll see again, it couldn't break into the top 3. Now I'll be honest, this one, we're looking at number 3 now, so in the top 3. This one I didn't even expect. I didn't even expect to have to put it on a list. I kind of did a list without it at first, and then thought, what? You can't do a list without this. So the number 3 tool is the Sledge, and this is the hardest one to place. It's not that useful later in the game. You probably don't use it that much. It's essential for clearing grass for some of the runs across dirt where you really need it, and you still for that reason use it late in the game. Where you might have used it most is at the start, breaking into rooms, breaking thick walls down, and for the design of the earlier levels, you'll be able to tell that the wall structure is different because it relies on you only having the Sledge as one of your primary tools. There is something amazingly satisfying about not only destroying every single object, but as you do it, seeing the ray traced lighting come through, breaking things up into tiny bits. And of course later in the game, when you've got lots of debris and bricks and things around, it's essential for removing those. There's loads of fun to be had with the Sledge. It's got infinite ammunition because it is a hammer, and yeah, it's the #1 starting tool, and I don't think you could get very far without it. You certainly wouldn't have got past the first level probably. It's an absolute essential. For that reason, it has to go in the top 3, which I know is kind of mind-blowing. I initially was putting it about 10, 9, but the more you think about it, the more you realise it's got to go higher up that list, and for that reason it sits at 3. Now in the top 2, we're pretty much going to know the winner from this point onwards, but the second most important tool in the game is the planks. If you'd have told me that planks was coming in at number 2, or potentially would have come in at number 1 when I first started playing this and had just unlocked them, I would have laughed at you. At that point I thought the plank was essentially this: oh, we can make a ramp, but why bother, because we can just blow our way through different buildings. And then it developed to, oh, we can do walkways, and we can get ourselves back up on top of the building quicker. And then it starts to gel with all the other tools, like, ah, right, okay, we can blow a hole through this wall, we can jump up here, we can go through there. Or when it starts to get even more intelligent, you think, oh, hang on, we can put one of the paintings or the timers or the key boxes on this, and we can use it to hold things in different places. And then probably the greatest moment that we get in Teardown is when you realise that the plank, whether this was done deliberately or not, I have no idea, that the plank can be used to attach stuff and, well, not drag those because they're way too heavy, attach stuff and drag things around. Let's do it with something that's actually physically possible. And especially on this one, it completely changed the strategy for how we run away with the safes. But you can pretty much make a daisy chain of stuff and drag them all across the map. And then when you get even further on, we realise we can use things like these cables to make catapults. We can design our own bridges. Yeah, the planks pretty much becomes almost limitless in terms of its usefulness. And it was really difficult not to put the plank at number 1. A plank does sit at number 2. It's definitely the most fun thing when we're playing in sandbox and when we're going back through these missions, but absolutely essential. You could not complete Teardown without the planks, as far as I'm concerned. Of course, there's some pretty cool glitches with the planks. I don't really mess around with glitches that much in Teardown, but you can fly with planks and other props. And that leads us at number 1. We have the shotgun. Now, I might be biased with the shotgun, but the shotgun is the most useful tool in Teardown. Again, no death threats, please, but I will happily fight anyone to the death who says that this doesn't come in the top 3. It looks awesome at the bottom of the screen, especially when you've changed the field of view a little bit. It destroys everything that's destroyable in Teardown. It might take a little bit longer than a bomb, but with the bomb you can't run out a wall and blow a hole straight through a wall while jumping and end up on the other side. It's absolutely wicked. Doors don't even stand a chance with it. And of course we can use it to, see if I make that jump. Oh, what a god. We can use it to do things that are a level of destructiveness way beyond what you think you should be able to do with a shotgun. Like, for example, take down an entire telegraph pole. Come on, go for it. Go for it. And it's gone. Yeah, so for that reason, the shotgun sits right at the top of my list. Also for the Quake 2, Doom, super destructive, running through walls, blowing stuff up, going from room to room, smashing absolutely everything down. The massive amount of ammunition, the massive amount of hours of fun that I've had with this. I'm already getting distracted now just by using the shotgun. I could run around for hours. I'm a simple man blowing things up with this tool. And of course we can chop our way through doors. We can customize small sections of vehicles so that we can put safes into them. We can accidentally miss and blow things up that cause untold destruction and ruin our runs, but it's all part of the fun of Teardown. So there is my list. That is the top 10 list of the coolest weapons, tools in Teardown, and I would love to hear you guys and girls put them into order of your top 10s. I want to know where you disagree with me. I want to know why you disagree with me, and I'd love to see some of your lists. Okay, I'm now going to completely eradicate this level because I'm a man of simple pleasures, and this is just going to be so much fun. Now we've already caused a little bit of destruction. So there's my afternoon, and I hope to see your lists. Again, no death threats, please.